Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today for our first live Q&A. I'm Megan and I am the editorial assistant for Fashion is Psychology, and I'm here today with Shakaila, who is the editor-in-chief and founder of Fashion is Psychology. Shakaila, if you wanted to discuss with everyone a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so firstly, thanks everyone for joining. I'm really excited to do this Q&A. I get so many questions about fashion and psychology. I'm really excited to hear about everyone's renewed interest in this area. So I'm hoping I can use this time to give everyone an insight into my journey, how I created fashion and psychology, talk a bit about the questions I get asked very frequently, and just open up the floor for any new questions. So basically, I'll just talk a bit about my background to start off. So I studied psychology at UCL. It's very good university, and the focus was very much on clinical psychology. So that's the route kind of most of the students go down. But I found myself always being drawn to more of like the social psychology and organizational psychology. And I really found that that was an area that piqued my interest. And I remember I was doing my third year thesis, and that's the point where you get a chance to research whatever you wanted to. And I had done a lot of work in organizational psychology and done some stuff about impressions and how different poses can make people feel differently, and how people change perceptions of people based on their actions or based on their clothing. And that is something that really piqued my interest, because I've always been interested in fashion from a very young age. I actually wanted to study fashion design before my mom persuaded me to go and study psychology at uni, but it turned out that I really found a way to kind of gel my two interests. So when I was at UCL, I started a blog. It was a very like hacky, random put together blog about fashion psychology. And I just thought, wow, like I'm seeing all of this great research, and a lot of the research is kind of kept within academic circles. So let me see if I can put it on a platform and just like kind of flex my creative juices. But the more I was investing time in the blog, I realized that I just wanted to do more with it. So I started seeking out people in the industry who maybe were doing similar things and finding ways to mix the two. And I actually found a woman by the name of Kate Nightingale. So she is a style psychologist. So she does a lot of work with brands in terms of like consulting, helping them with like visual merchandising, and with like employee uniforms, and just lots of things to do with retail. And I thought, wow, there's actually a space to do it. I mean, Kate is really a trailblazer, and she's found a way to kind of mesh these two areas of interest. So I really thought that this was something I could pursue further. At the same time, I wanted to continue my studies. So a quick Google search, and I found the master's degree at London College of Fashion. It was the first time the Masters had ever run. It was the first Masters of its kind in the world. So it was pretty risky to do something that was so new. But I had all this experience with Kay, and my dissertation was about like first impressions and clothing and race. And I was so passionate about it, and I really wanted to take that research further. So I went ahead and I did the master's, and I continued my work into fashion and race and consumer behavior. And it was really good, but obviously you face the challenge of people not really understanding what you do, not being very sure about it. And because it was so new at the time, even some of the other staff there, they didn't really understand what we were trying to do. We were just random psychology kids in this big fashion world. So it was a pretty out of body experience. I remember one time I went to a job fair, and I spoke to a couple of people about my course, and trying to see if I can get some experience interning, and they were just like, what is fashion psychology? Like, what do you do? I don't know anything about that. So that's when I realized, okay, wow, this is super new, and I'm about to graduate. Like, I really need to figure out my niche. Like, I need to figure out how to sell myself and make people realize the value of psychology when it comes to fashion. So I decided to focus more on the consumer behavior side of psychology and the marketing, because that's always been kind of what my research has been about. So I looked to get like marketing internships. So when I finished, just before I finished actually at LCF, I got a internship at Lulu Guinness. It's a premium accessories brand. I learned a lot about PR and marketing there. It was very hands-on, very hard work. But yeah, I learned a lot more about the business and more of the business side of fashion, which I didn't get much experience of during the course. And after that, I interned at another luxury brand called Meng, and it was such a small team. So whilst I was doing a bit of writing and PR and social media, I did a lot of stuff to do with, like, I understand about the buying side of fashion, and what goes into when you're working with wholesalers, and just a lot about like the more hands-on side of the fashion industry. After that, I worked at a menswear brand doing marketing, and then I worked at the Swatch Group, marketing again. Before, at the same time, I published my dissertation. So if anybody knows about academia, you know that dissertations take a long time to publish, and there's a lot of hurdles to jump through. But I really wanted to make sure that my research wasn't being kept within the bounds of academia. So my research was based on the thinking at the time that Black models didn't sell. So it was basically showing that Black consumers do buy products and at a higher value if they are advertised by Black models. So it was just talking about the needs, like the commercial need for more representation, as well as the psychological need as well for young Black consumers to see positive representations of them in fashion media. So whilst I was doing all that, I did start a new job, which I'm currently doing now. So I'm the marketing manager at Orisma, and that is a influencer tech company. So I handle lots of data, social media data, and I connect the dots. So looking at kind of the why behind the what. So if a certain hashtag is trending, maybe what's happening in the current environment, maybe reasons why people are gravitating to certain makeup trends than others, what's happening socio-political environment, to see like why people are buying what they're buying. So a lot of it does involve a lot of psychology, and I've been really lucky that my degree has been very useful in this area as well. And of course, as you all know, at the same time, I am keeping up with Fashion and Psychology as a platform, just making sure that everybody is aware of all of this great research that's out there, that doesn't stick within the realms of academia, that's maybe saying in more layman's terms for people to actually understand what the research is saying, how they can apply it in their everyday life, how brands can apply it, how marketers can apply it, how consumers can apply it. I just wanted it to be a place where everybody can get like the basic research that's out there and make it accessible. I've also partnered with a few brands. So my blog actually gave me a good platform. I've been lucky that I haven't actively done a lot of like outreach to brands. A lot of the times brands have found me through just the sheer fact that I push out so much content every year. So I've worked with brands like Next. I did some I did an interview with BBC last year to promote a clothes swapping event. I've worked with Hubbub, which is an environmental charity talking about sustainability. I've done some freelance writing, so I've been published in Marie Claire, I've been published in Glamour, and just bits and pieces here, really showing people the benefits of marrying psychology with fashion and the different areas that it really can feed into, which is really the main reason why I called my blog Fashion is Psychology, because when you think about it, psychology is found within every area of fashion. It's really about how you look at it, and yeah, you can get a lot out of it. So that's really my story in a nutshell. Yeah, I guess, Megan, if we have any questions that we typically get.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you for sharing that. And I know personally, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have even had the opportunity to learn about fashion psychology, because I mean, I don't know if anyone else is doing a psychology degree, but it's just something that isn't covered So I think it's really great to have a platform that people from all areas of life can go to learn more about it. So one of the main questions we get is, what areas of research would you like to be investigated further in fashion psychology?
So of course, my area of research that's really close to my heart is diversity. So like I said, I published my paper, and if anybody wants access to the paper, I'm happy to share it. Which basically talks about the need for inclusion. But I think there needs to be more research about going further in diversity. So now in the second wave of the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been talks about like colorism and how that impacts the way that many ethnic minorities view themselves. And I think in fashion media, we do see when there are Black models, it does tend to veer towards those with lighter skin tones. And there's lots of research talking in various different cultures how caste systems have been put in place to place darker skinned people are kind of at a lower value. So I think fashion and media in general does have a responsibility to make sure that all people, ethnic minorities of all shades, are seen as being beautiful and are held up as a pillar of beauty, so that young people can grow up with more positive self-concepts relating to their skin color. There's just so much work to be done within diversity and inclusion and fashion and psychology. So I'd really like to see more work done in that area. Also, I think sustainability is such a hot topic right now, but I think a lot of the time psychology is not included in these discussions. So a lot of the time when we talk about sustainability, we're often chastising fast fashion consumers and fast fashion brands, and we're just saying stop buying, stop buying, stop buying, when in reality sometimes these brands are the only things many people can afford. Many times they've got into habits of just buying into them. Many times the way that these brands are marketed and their accessibility makes it just easier for them to consumers to buy into these brands. Sometimes these brands can produce clothing that does actually last a long time. People can cherish it for a long time. So I think we need to move the conversation away from kind of chastising and criticizing, and more to think about the motivations behind why people overconsume. So why do people feel that they have to do a haul and buy 10 things from, say, a Pretty Little Thing, instead of buying maybe one or two key pieces once a year or every few months? Like, how can we make consumers build a more stronger relationship to the clothes that they're buying, and maybe build a more attachment? Maybe we should look at marketing and think of ways we can market clothes as being something that you cherish, something that lasts long, something that makes you feel good, so that people are less inclined to throw them away every season. So I think there needs to be more like research in the sustainability area to take less pressure off consumers, and think about how they can shop differently to help them buy less.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Sort of in a similar vein to that, where do you think the study of fashion psychology can lead?
So yeah, this is kind of a question I get asked a lot. Like people saying, "Oh, can I get a job? Like, what can I do with this?" And I remember I'm speaking to Karen Pine, who is another pioneer in fashion psychology, and I asked her this similar question when I was starting out, and she just said, "Shakaila, there is no job for fashion psychologists. You're not going to go on LinkedIn and see, oh, we're looking for a fashion psychologist." Like, it doesn't exist. You need to think more specifically about the different areas of fashion and how your psychology degree can be applied to it. And there are almost every area of fashion can benefit from some psychological analysis. Well, you can go the traditional academic route and just continue doing research and publish and do a PhD and be an academic, or you can go like me and go into the marketing route, and look at how you can connect the dots between consumer behavior and buying, and how you can use like psychological research to see how you can connect to consumers on a deeper level. You can go like Kate and go into more like the visual merchandising route and seeing like what different environmental factors cause people to go into shops and buy what they buy. Even now with COVID, I guess maybe looking more online shopping, there's so much research to do with like eye tracking and different model usage to see that how that impacts consumer behavior. You can go into forecasting, look at loads of data and analyze future trends. You can go to customer relationship management, look at data behind different consumer behavior and buying patterns, and see how brands can build deeper relationship with their customers. You can go into human resources. Fashion is a very tough industry, and a lot of people within the industry do suffer from mental health complaints or pressures, and you can use your psychological knowledge to see how you can help these people with this creative mindset, maybe juggle a work-life balance. Yeah, and there's loads of different areas you can go into. Consultancy, like, it's all about finding a specific area in fashion that you are positive about and thinking about the ways that psychology can be used to benefit it.
Okay, so what sort of qualities do you think are important for fashion psychologists or related jobs are for them to hold?
I think maybe there's kind of two main qualities. So you, of course, have to be analytical. For anybody who has studied psychology knows that it involves a lot of analysis, qualitative and quantitative. You need to be able to connect the dots and basically see beyond the data and think of reasons, plausible reasons why you're seeing what you're seeing. I think you also have to be inquisitive. You need to know that there is a deeper meaning behind most things, and you need to have that inquisitive mindset to be able to find out what that is.
Okay, and what do you think is the best and worst thing about fashion psychology?
I think the best thing is that there's so much to explore. People think that it's a new area, but actually, if you do the research, you'll realize that it's been going on for so many years, decades, actually. Even the work of Michael Solomon, who I've had the pleasure of speaking to as well, like, he's been working in this industry for so long. I think now it's becoming more popularized. People are figuring out the different ways that they can utilize it, and I think that's really exciting. I think the worst thing about it is the misconception that it's kind of a nonsense kind of area. So sometimes you'll get ignorant people who think, oh, so you can just tell what I am by what I'm wearing. And I'm like, well, no, there's a lot more to it than that. Of course, there is a link between clothing and identity, and clothing and mood changes, but a lot of that is research based. It's not as simple as basically like just looking at you and saying, oh, I can tell you're an extrovert because you're wearing a yellow top. Like, no, that's not where it's at. Everything I do definitely is always research based. It's always grounded in theory, and I just connect the dots, really. So yeah, the misconception is probably the worst part, but I'm hoping now, I'm seeing there's so many people coming up that are interested in it, that are studying it, that are doing their own blogs and doing a lot of stuff like that. I'm hoping that this misconception will dissipate over time.
And also, what would you like to see in the future of fashion psychology?
I guess I hope to see that it will just become like legitimized, and brands in particular will realize that there's always, like, there's a little gap. They're trying to tackle all these things like diversity and mental health and sustainability, and I think to progress these conversations further, there needs to be a psychological element attached. So I'm hoping it to just be viewed as something that's necessary good to really push fashion forward.
Okay, thank you. So now we've covered our sort of FAQs, we thought we would move on to some of the questions that were submitted when you signed up to join this Q&A. So one question we got was from Scarlett, and I don't know if Scarlett's here, if she wants to unmute herself and ask her question herself. If not, I can ask it on her behalf.
I'm not sure, Charlotte. Scarlett's here. Maybe Megan, if you just ask the questions, and then if you call your name, then maybe you can interject and ask if you would like.
Okay. So she asked, so for students of psychology with an interest in clinical psychology and the emerging field of fashion psychology, are you able to visualize an arena where the two specialties may be pursued together?
Definitely. So on the blog, we did an interview with two clinical psychologists, and we asked them about like the link between fashion and mental health. And they said that oftentimes they do notice changes in their patients' behavior. They can tell by how they dress. Oftentimes when people are going through a depressive state, their appearance is kind of the first thing that goes out the window. So I think clinicians are looking at clothing as kind of a warning factor that maybe their patients may not be doing too well. And I do think that's an area that can use a bit more exploration as well. I think there's a lot of research into like the positive aspects of clothing and how they can be mood boosting. I'm doing some research personally into the link between grief and clothing. I've recently suffered a bereavement as well. So I found that my late sister's clothes are something that I find as a source of comfort. I've been talking to other people as well who maybe looked at clothes of their loved ones, how that's helped them in the healing process and in the grieving process. I really think that's an area where that can do with a lot more research. I think in general we talk a lot about depression and anxiety, but we don't often talk about grief, especially in the climate like now where we're going through a pandemic and we're losing a lot of people. I think we should explore different areas that can give people sources of comfort. And I think clothing and possessions is an area that's often overlooked.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And another thing Scarlett asked was, more generally, how do you believe current students may best proceed in maximising their career opportunities in psychology/fashion psychology? So she said, for example, where internships and placements are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly in the current climate and our progression into a post-pandemic world.
I think, like I said, it's important for you to find your niche. Once you find your niche, it's all about like how you sell yourself. So I remember when I was finding my first internship, I talked about like all of the research I was doing on consumer behavior and how I can link that to marketing, how I was super hands-on and ready to just do anything, anything and everything. And I think you do have to have that go-getter mentality, because doing such a niche degree, you're already kind of on a back foot. One thing I would suggest as well is a lot of the times, so many students, they have these great like essays and like research papers that they've done, and it just stays within their laptop or it just stays in their uni and they don't do anything with it. Whereas that's like a great source of content. It could be something that you pitch to magazines and get your name out there. Like I think we really need to look at expanding our research and not just keep it within our bounds of academia. We need to have it open. I'm always accepting people who are maybe first-time writers who want to have their stuff published on the blog. I'm more than welcome to have a look and see if it's suitable for our audience. But I think it's just about being very proactive and getting yourself out there.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question we had was from Sam, and he or she, I'm not sure, said, I'm going to be starting a master's in applied psychology and fashion at the London College of Fashion. If you have any pieces of advice or recommendations regarding the course itself and also finding work in the area after graduating, I'd be grateful to hear them.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot about this specific course. I guess it's such a niche course, there's not many graduates from it, but I have to say the same thing every time. I did the course few years back. I can't even remember the year right now, but it was the first iteration of the course. There has been so many changes since. I'm very close with one of the former course leaders, Aurora Bardi, and even she has said that it has changed so much since I first did it. So I don't have that much insight into the course specifically. I just know that there's a new like collaborative unit when they are giving students more like work experience. So hopefully that will help with the job prospect side of it. However, I know the syllabus has changed a lot, so I just suggest like going on the website and checking out the syllabus and like taking it from there. One thing I would suggest is that in psychology courses in general, a lot of the times the reading lists are just specific to specific papers. But after the course, I found some great books that I think really helped me. So I'll just show them now. So The Fashioned Body, Fashion, Dress and Modern Social Theory by Joanne Entwistle. Lovely lady, it's so much, very in-depth, but there's a lot of good research here. This is one of the first kind of fashion psychology books I got, Identities Through Fashion. As you can see, it's super worn down. So this is like a multidisciplinary approach. So there's lots of different chapters with different authors, and it talks a lot about like fashion and adolescence. It's really cool. And then this is one I got recently, Through the Wardrobe, Women's Relationships with Their Clothing. I think this one's a little bit older, but it has a lot of good stuff about feminism and psychology and the link between clothing and consumer behavior. So those are just 3 books. And of course, Mind What You Wear by Karen Pine. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And another question we had was from Laura Brown, and she said, where have you found fashion psychology as a career the most lucrative, for what particular facet of the fashion industry?
So I found marketing to be the most lucrative area. I think that a lot of marketing involves like understanding consumer behavior. A lot of my research involves, I talked about like diversity in fashion, but I realized that different groups actually respond differently to different types of marketing. They shop differently. And I think there's just so much to explore there. With marketing as well, it's a lot about like how you communicate. And like basic psychology teaches you that about like impression formation and the way you present yourself and how people respond to that, the things you say, how they can be perceived, and a lot of that has grounding in marketing. So I found that to be most lucrative for me personally. But like I said, there's loads of other areas that you can go into.
Okay, and another question we had was from Kristen, and they said, I already have a bachelor's in psychology. Where do I go from there if I want to pursue fashion psychology?
So, of course, you can do the masters at London College of Fashion like me, but there's so many other institutions that are doing some great things in psychology. It might not necessarily be fashion psychology, but like me, I'm an undergraduate. I linked the two in my research, and it was kind of social psychology, but I turned it into fashion psychology, so you can do that too. I know London Met, that's where Aurora Bardi is, so she's doing some great research there. Hertfordshire University is where Karen Pine was, so I think there's scope for do some good research there. And of course, if you're over in the States, and the Fashion Institute of Technology is really cool. I'm looking to do a fashion psychology short course as well. So if anybody's interested in that, I'd love to hear feedback and see what people are interested in. And hopefully we can see if we can get something set up maybe in the next year.
Thank you. It's very exciting, the prospect of a short course. So Anita said, are there some way or ways that you recommend I could somehow try to include psychology of fashion in my future career if I'm not able to study it at school?
So like I said, there's a lot of research out there. I think of my blog as a tool. So it's a tool for anybody just to get a basic understanding about the link between psychology and fashion, and how it can be used in different areas for different people. So not just the lay person, but also for people trying to start a brand and looking at different colors and how people respond to that, or look someone who has a store and wants to see like how they can get more consumers in, or any people in HR and looking at how they can use some psychological techniques for like wellness or well-being. Like there's so many resources there where we're constantly updating. So if you can like find the research, if not, then if you can email us, we'll try to track it down, and you can see like how you can use the research in the specific area of fashion that you're in. So there's a lot of stuff out there. The books I suggested, there's papers out there. Yeah, so it's basically about doing your research and then connecting the dots and applying it to the area that you're in.
Yeah, definitely. And so Anita also asked, what job opportunities does this bring you? And maybe in general as well. She loves both fashion and psychology, but she's not sure yet what exactly she wants to do in the future.
Yeah, so like I said, it's all about finding out about the industry itself. So when I started doing psychology, I thought it was just kind of like, oh, fashion is about maybe design and about marketing. And I didn't realize there's so many other areas to do with fashion. Like the business itself is huge. And obviously, like I said, psychology can be applied to so many different areas. So it's about doing your research, seeing what area really like piques your interest, and then taking it from there.
Okay, that's great. And so finally, from the submitted questions, we had one from Beza. I'm sorry if I pronounced that slightly wrong. And they asked, do you think after finishing the MSc Applied Psychology of Fashion, career options are realistic?
Definitely, I do. It's tricky because I know some people on my course did maybe struggle with jobs afterwards, but I think that was more so of not really having found the passion in a specific area of fashion that they really wanted to invest in further. So I think if you do the work initially of finding out the area that really piques your interest, then you won't have a problem finding a career, because you'll know the area of interest, you'll have done the research to know how your psychology degree applies to it. Then you'll be able to sell yourself to the employers to say why they are missing this trick of fashion psychology and how it needs to be applied, and how you can enter their company and having this kind of unique perspective and add value to the team.
Fab, great, thank you. So those were all of our frequently asked questions, and also the ones we got submitted. So we just wanted to take some time to see sort of if you've got anyone's got any further questions they'd like to ask Shakaila, sort of based off what she said, or if you thought of any others in the meantime that you have, you sort of like to ask. So you could just mute yourself or type it in the chat if you prefer, and she'll answer your question.
Yeah, I see someone's hand is raised.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I've spoken with you through email a few times. I took Kate Nightingale's class. I've been taking online short courses at UM from Los Angeles, and I would love to bring it to America, actually, to LA. What would be a path that you would recommend? I mean, I am looking into getting my master's degree in applied psychology, and then going to London to get the other master's degree in fashion psychology. And then at that point, I feel I would have enough experience to possibly bring it over here to some schools to teach, or, but I didn't know if there was some other areas I should focus on too as well.
No, I think that sounds like a really great approach. I definitely learned so much when I was doing my master's, but I think I learned even more when I was actually in the industry and doing the work and seeing the different ways it could be applied. I'm not sure if you have any of that experience yet, but if you maybe could, or maybe speak to more people within the industry and get some feedback into what they find useful, and maybe how it can be applied as well. I think that's what I try to do when I'm doing any of my blogs or speaking to people. I try to see how it can be applied within the actual industry itself. I think that's super useful to people. So we're not just kind of sticking within academia, we're actually applying it to the industry itself. But I think continue with your studies and your research. Make sure that you're making all of your research like available to the wider community. I'm really excited, like our community is growing. I think as accessible as you can make it, I think that would be amazing. Like I said, the one thing about academia I don't like is that it can be very it can be very tight. It can be very like everything sticks within academia. Within psychology as well, there's a very specific way of writing that can almost be quite elitist that I don't like. So if you make it as accessible as possible, applicable to the wider fashion psychology audience, and just make it fun and engaging, I think that will be really great.
I was wondering too, since I'm on the West Coast and not FIT New York style, which there is different styles.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, obviously we're more relaxed here, and we're already relaxed because of COVID, and wondering about if that'll stay for post-COVID or go opposite because we've been in, kind of loungewear or whatever. So
yeah.
and what that means. And so there's many different areas, but I was wondering, do you think it would be important for me to try to represent a California quote unquote approach, or is that not really necessary as far as I guess that focus that I'd go into?
I think if you can find a specific niche that you're passionate about, I think that will be great. Right now with COVID, we did a blog actually talked about loungewear sales, how it's kind of going through the roof. And there's a lot of like psychological research that talks about how like comfort is like such an important thing in not only a mental well-being, but also in improving cognitive performance. So there's a lot of things you can do with that. But like I said, fashion psychology is such a big area. I wouldn't limit myself to just talking about that. I think there's a scope to talk about a lot more. There's like some studies that
especially with being very strong over here too as well in inclusivity. I took a wonderful diversity with Jennifer and it was an amazing course. And so of course, bringing there's so many fields. It's hard to find a focus sometimes, I think. And then, but yes, I've been looking into internships lately in something with marketing and PR so that I can kind of get into that applied area.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think you're going the correct route. Getting as much knowledge as you can, but also the practical side of it. I think that would be really helpful and beneficial. And if you are, bringing it into a course or something, you'll be able to give more of a holistic view. So go ahead and I'm happy to find out more about your research and your work. So yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Thank you. Thanks.
So we've got a question from Alicia, and she asks, what would you say to a young person starting out in fashion psychology? What would be the one most important tip you'd give them regarding trying to get into this field? What would you tell your younger self?
That's a really good question. I think I would tell them not to be afraid. I get a lot of people, a lot of young people emailing me and saying like, I find this area to be really cool, but don't really know what to do with it, and I'm not really sure. And I think a lot of the times younger people, they're expected to have their whole career mapped out, expected to know exactly what they wanted to do. And instead of just kind of giving it a chance and just trying, there was a lot of times during my course and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know anything about this. This is crazy. But I loved it and I was passionate about it. And because I was so passionate about it, I carved a path for myself and I found my niche. And when people doubted me, I made them understand what it was about. And if they still didn't understand, I made my blog so they can see all of the areas it was about. So you really have to back yourself. And I wish I backed myself more at the beginning, because there's just so many different areas that you can go into. So if there's something that you are truly passionate about, do your research. Find out the specific area of fashion that you're really interested in, maybe read some books and do some studies, and just be passionate about it and back yourself really, and try to carve out a path for yourself with confidence.
Okay, so did anyone else have any other questions they wanted to ask Shakaila?
No, I think we covered so much.
Can I just ask you a quick question? Sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought of it. Where do you see your future going in terms of your path in fashion psychology and the blog, or where would you like to see it go?
Oh, that's such a good question. I really want to make the blog a lot bigger than it is. I know that we get so much feedback from it and people are really invested in it, but I want to get more writers on. I really want to expand it as well. Like, we've had some amazing writers over the years, and I want to encourage more research and more writers. And sometimes I find papers and I'm like, oh my God, I want this on the blog, and then I don't have institutional access anymore, so I can't get it. And sometimes it's confusing to understand, and I'm like, oh, I wish this could just be something that's easy for everyone to get. So I want it to be even more inclusive. I'm doing a lot more partnerships with brands, so I'm hoping to bring the platform and the industry of fashion psychology to a wider audience. So a few things in the works I can't talk about yet, but yeah, I'm hoping to really expand that as well. And like I said, I did this Q&A because I get so many questions all the time. So I'm hoping I can start a course next year for myself, and I think I've got a lot of interest in that already, so I'm hoping that's something I can do, something that'll be affordable and, like I said, accessible for people maybe just starting out, and then maybe level up for people who have a bit more experience. So yeah, I think there's so many things we can do, and I really love that people are really taking up this area and they're doing research and they're doing their own blogs, and I think it's amazing. And when I started out, there was maybe like a couple of other people doing this, and some people were like, oh, I'm the only person doing fashion psychology, I don't want to speak to you. And I just think that's so terrible. Like, it's such a niche area. Like, we should really be working together and collaborating. A lot of the like Kate and Aurora Barty and a lot of people that I've come across, like, if they have opportunities they can't do, they pass it on to me. If I've known someone who's done fashion psychology and I get an opportunity I can't take, I pass it on to them. Like, I really think it should be a collaborative field. So I'm hoping, yeah, to make it a lot more collaborative and just build upon it in general, and work with people like you, Megan, just a student but has so much potential and doing some amazing writing and work. And yeah, I think if we work together, all of us work together, we can really legitimize this industry. So I'm excited about that.
Great, thank you very much. And also I think we should say a big thank you. Oh, sorry, I just seen Nicole has another question.
Yes, I just have a quick one, because you had mentioned that you would be taking, you are interested in taking some writing samples that we've done, and I've been taking, I think it's now 7 courses since COVID on UAL's online short classes, just to get back into it, and I've been enjoying it. I'm taking fashion journalism, but there's been some projects with Kate. Would I be able, I don't want to bombard you, but would I be able to send paper samples of
yeah, if you have any samples, yeah, I'm happy to receive them. Megan and I are super swamped right now. We're working on a really cool series about psychology and fragrance, so look out for that. But yeah, we're happy to take on samples. We get samples like weekly, and yeah, we're happy to have a look, and hopefully, yeah, we can publish them. Right now it's on a voluntary basis, but I'm hoping once the blog expands, then we'll be able to maybe do this more permanently and maybe get some freelance writers on. But happy to see anything that you send through.
Thank you so much for this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Have any questions? I noticed some people came late. That's okay. I think we've recorded this, so we're going to put it up on the blog in the FAQ section maybe next week afterwards. So if you've missed anything, it'll be there. If you have any additional questions, happy to get them by email. It's info@psychologyofashion.co.uk, and either myself or Megan will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. So we're kicking off the newsletter as well. And yeah, we have some really good series coming up in the next few weeks. But yeah, I think that covers it. Megan, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I just want to obviously on your behalf as well thank everyone for coming, and I think it's been good for us all to sort of have a really good discussion about fashion psychology, because like I was saying to you before, it's very sort of like we put content out there and people read it, but we never get to sort of see people that often or interact with them. So it's really nice to sort of see the people behind the blog who are reading it and engaging with it. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And yeah, I'm really encouraged by everybody that's been reading and asking questions and doing all these courses. I think it's super exciting. So thank you to everyone as well for helping legitimize this industry, and hopefully we can take it further. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. I hope you are all staying safe and being well. Yeah, so thank you.